having a quarrel.
Oh, maybe you got one.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments. Alamance County is pleased to present the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting.
You're very welcome.
Call the meeting to order. Mr. Lashley, you have the honor.
Oh, thank you, sir. Everyone, join me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for another wonderful day that you have created. And dear Lord, give us the strength and wisdom to do the business for the citizens of Alamance County. And dear Lord, please be with our nation as we go through this troubling time in the Mideast and Ukraine. Our country is going to be dealing with a lot of serious issues, and please hold us in your hand and give us safety. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With the agenda, Mr. Stevens, I understand we need to make one adjustment. Is that correct?
That's correct. The item, Brian Baker's item, needs to be removed from the agenda, rather. 6B, I think.
And that's item 6B, is that correct?
That's correct. 6D is in
6D.
David, yes, sir.
All right. I'll move that we move that one item off the agenda. And I understand we need to have a closed session as to that issue.
That's correct, and I'll make a motion related to that when we get to that portion of the agenda.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, Tammy Vaughn. Good to see you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to have this time. I am coming from Grace Point Recovery Services. I am the CEO. We are a mental health and substance use treatment center. We provide individuals in the Alamance County area treatment for things like depression and anxiety, and recently been appointed from Bayer Health to start a OBOT program, which means that we will be providing medication assisted treatment to those who are suffering from opioid addiction. At this time, we are looking at working with those pregnant women and those who will be I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Those who will be released from jail or prison. Those are the vulnerable population. Most of them don't have insurance, and so we want to eliminate as much overdose as we can. And so what I'm adamant about is providing a low barrier access to the treatment, meaning when someone comes in and they identify with an opioid use disorder, they will be treated that day. They will receive the medication. I just had a conversation with a pharmacy that we're going to be partnering with to help us provide the medication for the individuals. Our treatment focus is, again, for pregnant women, and we are also would like to request maybe to come back and be able to present our agency and the things that we'll be providing for the citizens of Alamance County. That's all I have.
And we thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Barry Joyce.
Yeah, I'm here again about this bond referendum issue on the Law Enforcement Training Center. Done a little research since a couple of weeks ago. Talked with some folks at ACC and really got some sad information. There's 48 people in the BLET class right now at ACC. 46 out of 48 of them are being paid by the departments that represent them. Not a single one of them would sign a contract. Not a single one. Not a single person. So we're paying these folks $21 an hour, I guess, for a gym class. Because from what I understand, these folks are not really serious about being career police officers. That's why they won't sign a contract. And, you know, it's the youth, the thing we're going through. Burlington's been boasting about having their staff fully staffed. Well, they got 15 people in the class. So it looks like they're running away from them just as fast as they are everybody else. You know, they're just hiring whoever they can hire. And, you know, I think to make this thing work, and I don't have a problem with the Justice Center, but I think as far as Alamance County is concerned is, you know, if we're going to put these people in these classes, then the taxpayers are going to pay, this class is going to increase by 100 hours starting in January. So we're going to be paying $20,000 per pupil to send these people to school. And I think the minimum we should ask is them sign a contract that they're willing to serve 2 years with Alamance County. And, you know, it's just unfathomable for me to see people that want to really be a law enforcement officer not willing to sign a contract and sign up with a police department and guarantee them 2 years. That's not long. You know, and for us to invest that kind of money in them, then they at least ought to be willing to do this. Now, you know, I mean, there's people in there from Chapel Hill, there's people in there from Caswell County, there's people in there, there's not people from out of town there really, just joining communities. But, you know, we just can't, you know, the taxpayers just can't afford, and Terry can't afford to keep doing it either. You know, paying this money and they get out and then 2 months later they got no connection and they just leave, go wherever they want to. A lot of them that's not even doing law enforcement anymore. So it's very distressful to hear these kind of comments from the program director. And I just think, you know, we've got to tighten down on this. I mean, our law enforcement is the most important thing we have. And if we don't start getting qualified people instead of people that want to go down there and pick them up an extra 20 grand for a 8 or 10 week gym class, you know, and then say I don't want to be a police officer, that needs to be stopped, and we need to hold them accountable.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, those are the only two public speakers. We next have,
What was her first name? What was your name? I'm so sorry, I was writing down something.
That's okay, Tammy Vaughn.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry.
no problem at all. Okay, the consent agenda,
Motion to approve?
second. Oh, Mr. Lashley did the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Who's presenting on the tourism board?
Did you want to present that, Tori, or would you like me to? Do you have a preference, Chairman? We don't.
I did, yep, I'll let you handle it.
Okay. We have before you the Tourism Development Authority appointments, Commissioners. There's consideration of 3 appointments to the authority, 2 representatives of the hotel motel industry, and 1 representative of the tourism-related industries. There are applications for consideration from Tammy Cobb, Tony Laws, Stephen Kranz, Aaron Nettles, Kavita Patel, Danielle Claudio, Chuck Marsh, and Stephanie Williams.
And all of those, you have 2 different categories.
That's right. So 2 applicants must be the hotel motel industry representatives. The applicants for consideration of those are the Miss Patel and Miss Claudio. I hope I'm pronouncing the names right. I apologize if I'm not. And then you have the ability to appoint 1 applicant to represent the tourism-related industry. And you have 7 applicants for that position.
Now, I understand the only 2 for the hotel motel are Patel and Claudio.
That's correct, and that was the recommendation from the Tourism Development Authority.
All right, and then 1 appointment from the other 7.
Correct.
Board, do we have a motion as to the first 2 hotel motel industry reps?
Motion to approve the hotel motel recommendations.
Would that be Tel and Claudia?
Kavita Patel and Danielle Claudio.
I'll second, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, we have one appointment from the other 7. Do we have a motion as to the tourism-related industry?
I move that we appoint Chuck Marsh as the tourism-related industry rep.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations?
I'll nominate Tony Laws.
I'll second.
Who?
Tony
Tony
Laws. Are there any other nominations? Okay. All in favor of, Mr. Marsh, signify by saying aye.
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 How did you vote? All right. 3 for Marsh, and so we don't need a vote on Laws because we're outnumbered. So, okay.
Thank you.
So at this point, Mr. Marsh will be the 3rd appointee. Okay. Okay, Ms. Evans?
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. Mr. Paisley, before we get started, I would ask if you would introduce the resolution that we're getting ready to discuss.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Hearing aids up.
This resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation community college bonds, Series 2023.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we're discussing at this point.
Yes, sir. So before you tonight, Commissioners, just wanted to show you a few slides before we actually get into the meat of the resolution. If you'll recall that voters approved a bond referendum of $39.6 million, and in our Series 2021 issuance, we issued for project cost of $760,000, which left a balance of $15,840,000. The resolution that I'm bringing before you tonight will look at our ACC bond summary. If you remember, ACC came and met with us last month and showed that we had a project cost of $19.2 million. That was $16 million for the Public Safety Training Center, PAL-G main building of $3.2. If we approve the resolution of $15.84 million worth of bond referendum, that would leave a project difference of $3.4 million. What staff would propose to meet that budget deficit would be to use ACC capital reserves. You can see right now, as of the June 30th, we had a balance of $2.9 million. We designated $150,000, and then a transfer in fiscal year 24 would equal $498,000. So that would give the community college $3.5 million available. That could fill that gap. And where that gap's coming from is, if you remember last meeting, we discussed issuing 18.9, but when we look at issuing what the voters approved, that would be issuing debt of 15.8 million. So before you tonight is a resolution for the board to approve. This will be the last official act that you have to do before we're able to issue the bonds. And what I am asking for is for the board to allow me to work with the LGC and with Davenport for us to issue bonds in the amount necessary to generate $15.84 million for project cost, and then to also accept any premium that would give us, together with the underwriter's discount and other cost of issuance, enough to pay for both the project cost of 15.8 as well as issuance costs.
Motion to approve?
have one question.
Yes, sir.
So quick. Go, Bill.
The issuance cost. In the last meeting, we were told it's roughly about 300,000. Has that changed?
It's not changed as far as I know. We do have Ted on the phone with us with Davenport, so if you have any questions for him, he can answer those. Rough estimate was roughly between 200,000 and 300,000. Yes, sir.
The premium that you were speaking of, the premium that you're willing to get from the bond market will only, just for the videotape. It's for the project cost of 15.84 million.
That's correct.
And you are going to accept premium along with this to achieve the issuance cost, and I think there's something else in there as well, isn't there?
The underwriter's cost.
That's what I thought.
Yes, sir.
So that's the only premium that you will be receiving.
Right, so what we would do is we would work with the LGC and Davenport to adjust that par amount down so that whatever premium amount that we were to accept would be offset by a reduction of the par amount. So cash-wise, we would receive cash of $15.84 million for the project and then cash for the cost of issuance plus the underwriters. Now, one thing that I will let the board know is that our bonds are sold within $5,000 increments. So the resolution does allow for a slight rounding. So we may receive maybe an additional $4,000, but it was being minuscule amount compared to the entire bond par.
Mr. Stevens, I would have one question. We have that, and we also have the $3,459,857 from the capital reserve. Do we need to vote on that separately?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Carter, which, were you making a motion to?
The first motion would be to approve the bond issuance.
$15,840,000. I'll second that.
Is this where we can discuss something? Okay.
Absolutely.
The difference, that coming out of your.
Capital reserve.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are they broke after that?
After that, they will have around $100,000.
So if something breaks, what they gonna do?
Well, here's the thing that we would have with that. There is some bond interest that we have earned on the first issuance that is not in with these amounts yet, and that's roughly about $100,000. We could use that instead of all of the capital reserve funds. This was just a way to ensure that there was funds there
Okay.
to meet
One-
that deficit.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. One other question, the Powell G building, that's been on hold for a while. I see what that amount is. Was there any particular reason why that has taken this long to do when you're not building a building like this other thing is? It's there existing. What all is that going for?
So I will have to defer that to ACC.
Okay.
As far as I know, that there were stages of the project. They were wanting to look at the biotech center first, get
Right.
that, as well as the student services buildings built because they were new builds.
Gotcha.
And they had to have that space constructed to then move students from the areas that they're looking at now for the renovation. So it was gonna be in a multi-phase process.
And what is included in the renovation? Is this gonna become a whole new academic curriculum for this particular building? Is it what's in there was not there now, it's moved, it's gonna be brand new for everything?
I'll have to defer that question to ACC.
Okay. I'm a
they're
question
here.
test, I'm just gonna tell you.
They are here tonight.
I
so-
appreciate it. And I do wanna say this to you too. You've walked into this was Algie Gatewood's dream, so I'm asking you just what you basically have known, so.
Thank
whatever
you so
desire.
much. Well, first of all, thank you. As you know, these things are always staged in terms of what they do, and with much of the new construction that has gone on, they've had to stage those processes. With the buildings that we have, we're redoing the library on the third floor right now. The library will be going back up there whenever it's completed, so we're taking space and just moving people around right now. But we have a new, licensed practical nursing program coming online. We've got other things that we've had. Shortages in classroom space, among other things. Of course, we've got the Student Services Center that was just built to give a new front door to the public and make it easier for them to gain access to the college. And then again, many of the things that we have, they've just backed up according to everything from equipment to materials to sometimes availability of labor. So we've had to adjust those over time and stage them as we have done it. I've jumped into it, but it's not much different than what I experienced in other places in the last few years. It's just the nature of what the economy has allowed us to do.
Okay.
Ma'am, that'd be the best way I could answer your question.
That is perfect, that is perfect. Okay, and one more thing, the word premium, what is going over the part that was voted for the county?
So with receiving the premium, we really would not go over a par amount. What the par amount does is it sets the maximum amount of principal that we could take out a loan for. By accepting that premium, it's going to reduce the principal cost of our loan. So what that would mean is, a way to explain it just for average citizen is, instead of having to take out a loan, say for $200,000 for a mortgage, there would be a way that the mortgage company would say, because we want to buy your mortgage, we are willing to offer you a premium, which means that they would give us, we'd pay slightly higher in the interest cost that we would repay, but they give us cash in advance. And so what that cash in advance does is it lowers the amount that we are actually having to take that loan out for. So say instead of taking it out for $200,000, we would be taking out a mortgage for $150,000.
But you just said you're gonna be paying more for that.
Slightly
Is that
more.
two separates, like this extra and then the one?
No, it's all together. We would pay slightly more in the interest, but we would have a lower amount to pay in our principal amount paying it back. So where we may get an interest rate with our previous bond sale, even accepting, I believe it was, let's see, we had 19 million that we accepted in premium for ABSS and 3.1 that we accepted in premium for ACC. Our total interest rate cost was 1.43%. So slightly higher of the 1.32 based just on that par amount, but by taking that premium, we paid just 11 basis points more, 0.11 more in interest for the additional cash in the front. And what that allows is we're not having to issue as much principal in the front. Thus, it's lowering our principal payment each year.
The projects that were canceled, whatever, there was some projects that were canceled in order to put that money into this. Were those projects part of what this bond was gonna be for?
They were.
Okay. And they were building things or academic things or program things? Because everything is going into this training center. And the college is a college. And I'm just,
So the two projects that have been put on hold were the east and west satellite campuses. And when we were able to really dig into those projects and get information from Dr. Gatewood of how those projects were going to be set up, in talking with our bond counsel, because we were not going to own the property and improvements were going to be made at properties that the community college was not going to own, that was not an acceptable, allowable cost for bond proceeds, because we weren't going to own the building
Okay.
that the renovations were going to be made in.
and when did we know this? Was this known after we propositioned this to the county?
Yes.
And worked so hard for that, and the county thought that's what they were putting into this?
Yes, this was.
And are
found
we
out after
just
that.
now announcing this, or has this been announced?
I believe this was announced during the first bond sale back
I'm
in
talking about
2021.
not using it for these funds that are canceled.
And that's what I'm saying is I believe there were discussions back in 2021 for that.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lashley?
Just want to let you know that your explanation for the bond was perfect.
Thank you.
Did a very good job. Because a lot of folks, and Ms. Thompson, the premium that we receive, it's usually it's not a lot of interest. When you said 0.1, I think that's the average of the premium. So just let you know it's not too much.
I know, but,
It's not.
and I know this is your baby, but too much is not what we voted on.
Oh, no, that's not what we're doing. We're
That's
not-
just what I'm saying.
We're not doing
That's
it.
right. And by accepting a premium, even though you all are allowing me to issue up to that 15.84 million in par, when we go to bond market and we're starting to get the bids, the par amount should not be 15.84. So what that means is we're going to be issuing less debt
Exactly.
because we're going to have the upfront cash
Yep. That's where the,
from the premium.
perfect. I don't think you can explain it any better. Did a good job.
It almost sounds like they're just giving us this cash. That's what it sounds like, and I know that's not true.
In a way, it is.
Maybe Guido, but not these people.
No. So where that comes into is it's the people who want to buy our bonds.
Absolutely.
Because it's a way for us to issue debt. But the flip side of that is that the investors out there are going to buy our bonds. And because of our credit rating, they are secure investments for people. So when you have an investor who is wanting to purchase that investment, their broker is putting that option out there, and the brokers are trying to buy those options so that they have sound, safe investments for the people who are their clients.
In
Okay,
particular, people like me,
Okay, just give me just a minute.
elderly.
When this was, the plans, was supposed to have everything, like the mall of first responders. That's what it's supposed to be, just like the Family Justice Center. That victim can go there and everything's done. Now I'm hearing that the fire tower can't go over there because of water pressure. That wasn't checked years ago. I know we made, I think it was Mr. Turner, and we all voted yes for the ARP money to give $500,000 to Green Level for sewer and water.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that still on the go? Because that has
Yes.
nothing to do with pressure though, right? So we're just doing that just to have sewer and water, but we can't use it for a tower that we're building a center for to have all the training there.
It is still happening.
It'll support the center, it just wasn't enough capacity for the tower.
Thank you, Mr. Lashley. You were on board. Continue, please.
We're talking.
Sorry, I thought I was.
No, you're good.
It's
You're fine.
okay, I'm done.
You're fine. No, I'm fine. I just wanted to, there was one thing else I was gonna mention, but if it comes back, I'll bring it up.
All right, Mr. Turner.
Ms. Evans, will you go back one slide, please?
Absolutely.
All right. So I just want to be clear. Is there another slide?
That's it. There's those two slides.
Okay. So yeah, back one. So the voters approved $39.6 million for ABS, for ACC's use for its facilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the issuance of the 15.84, that means that ACC is using for capital expenses the $39.6 million that the voters approved.
That is correct.
And when we're talking about par and premium, how much money above that are we issuing to pay for the issuance of the bonds? Like $300,000?
So right now, 300,000 I think would be the max that we would receive.
Okay, so the only amount above 39.6 is the $300,000 to pay for the issuance of the bonds.
That is correct.
Okay. And could you go back to the other slide, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the top column where it says the difference, the 3.459 million. Now, at the last meeting we had, wasn't that difference about
It was, but that was when we were looking at issuing the 18.935 million.
Okay.
So that's what's creating this difference is if we're looking at issuing debt to align with what the voters approved with the 39.6 million, then we would issue 15.84 million in debt and then need to utilize capital reserves for 3.4 million.
Okay. And then the issuance of the capital reserves, those are monies that are dedicated already to ACC, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Carter.
I don't have any questions.
And I don't either. Ms. Thompson, do you need another turn? I just didn't want to cut Mr. Lashley short.
But I was talking, you didn't cut Bill short, he was done. It doesn't matter, I'm just trying to understand this. I'm watching ACC just about deplete everything they've got to go into this center. And I understand that this is a big deal, it really is. But nobody supports law enforcement like I do, first responders like I do. But this is so much money. And, we're not even gonna be able to have the fire tower thing out there. I know that's petty, that's that one little thing, but sometimes it's that one little thing that breaks the camel's back, and that's what's breaking it with me. Because the dream and the vision of this was to have everything out there so we wouldn't have to go anywhere else. We could have it all there and we'd be this mother of all training center, because that's what I want for my county. And it seems like it's one little thing after another. I'm sorry.
No, I completely understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Thompson got a second shot. Does any other commissioner want a second try?
Let me make a comment, please. I agree with what Pam said and fought hard to try and make sure we could get the fire tower on the same site. We've worked really hard to try and make that happen. The only way to make it happen is to extend the construction time and take this out and add it in as a separate project, which would mean more cost, more time, more effort, additional cost that we don't even know yet of getting a sufficient water supply to the site to run the pressure up so that it could be managed. So this looked like the best option. Not the best one, but the best option under the circumstances.
Any other comments from any county commissioner?
I agree, Steve, but that water should have been decided years
No
ago.
question about it.
And we can all say shoulda, woulda, coulda in our own lives. That's a stickler for me, it really is, so.
Any other comments? All in favor of the existing motion for the,
Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Mr.
Motion
Carter
and
made a
second.
motion and I did the second. This is as to the $15,840,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Okay, it's 4-1. Now, as to the budget transfer from capital reserves, do you have any other comments as to that?
No, sir, Commissioners. It would just be a request for us to transfer that from the capital reserves to the capital project fund for the remainder of the project.
All right, do we have a motion as to that item?
I'll make a motion that we transfer those funds to cover the remaining cost.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Lashley. Any further comments from county commissioners? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
no. Be crazy to not vote for the other one, then vote for that.
Okay,
Unless you can build it for 300,000, then I'll vote for it.
passes with a 4-1 vote. Okay, adoption of the updated voluntary agricultural district ordinance, and Mr. Brad Moore. Good to see you, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate you allowing me to come before you this evening. So way back in 2001, when VAD was started, we went under the guidance of the state and so forth. And some time ago, the legislator had made some changes to the VAD ordinances. And there was about maybe 7 or 8 of those, and we had already had those in place, so there was only a few changes for us to make. One of those changes basically clarified who was going to administer the program. So way back when it said it could be this, could be that, could be whoever. So basically we said, working with Rick and his staff, we clarified that the administrator of the Alamance County Stormwater Conservation District serve as a secretary, that the secretary may delegate all or part of these duties to another Alamance County employee or Alamance County Cooperative Extension, but shall retain responsibility for the satisfactory accomplishment of the secretarial duties. And since because my position, I'm an employee of you, you have control over that versus maybe a partner that is not your employee. The only other change that we made was in the renewal of the conservation agreements. They will now automatically renew themselves every 10 years, where before they would expire, the landowner would have to asked to be put back in. So we know land changes every day through many different ways and forms. And basically, they're now in until they let us know that they would like to get out. Those are the only changes that we had made to this ordinance.
Motion
Do
to
we have a
approve?
Have a motion to approve, do we have a second? Mr. Lashley did the second. Any further discussion?
Brad, can I just ask a question? With the PUV program, is that based on a farmer coming out and saying, I'm not doing that anymore? Or is there like a group that goes and follows up?
On the PUV side,
Yeah,
uh,
because I know that's, you all agriculture. I'm just curious because I just want to make sure that if we've got folks in that's a brilliant, beautiful program. I just want to make sure that they're always in it and not, oh, by the way, I quit doing that 2 years ago.
generally speaking, on the PUV, so there are the audits from time to time. They have to provide certain records and so forth to make sure that they are still in compliance with the
Okay.
program. If they do not comply with the program, or if they could call in and say, hey, I'm no longer farming, I'm going to sell my property to whoever, whatever, then that could set a course in action that those people would be removed from the PUV,
Yeah.
which in turn, if they were in the VAD, they would lose that as well.
Well, I just wanted to ask you while I had you in front of me. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey Brad, wanna, go on a little further and explain to Ms. Thompson, like, what happens when someone pulls out a PUV? How does the county recoup any money that they, were in this program to start with?
So I think most people are familiar with the present use value tax program. It's a lesser rate because, as the old saying goes, cows don't dial 911 and pigs don't go to school. But basically, raw land doesn't require as many services.
Okay.
So when a person gives a acre lot to their granddaughter, or they sell a 10-acre portion for development, they pay 3 years back taxes plus a penalty.
I promise, I know this. When I was running for office, I sat down at the coffee shop with Frank Bell, so I don't need to be schooled. I know it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we were up on making sure we're following up with folks. The sex offenders registry list, they're on top of that to make sure that's not even anything like that, but it's all about accountability for the
Yes,
county.
ma'am.
That's it.
Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay, item 6D, we have moved to the county attorney's section of the meeting. So we're now skipping to 6E, and that's the architect selection and Ms. Hook. And she's already here. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to discuss the selection of an architect for design services for the renovation of the new Emergency Services Building, which is the former BD building. An RFQ for design services was issued June 22nd of this year, and submissions were due July 13th. We had 9 responses to that RFQ, and the responses were reviewed by a team from Alamance County Government and also City of Burlington. We have been working very closely with them because their 911 center will be co-located with ours in this new building. The group requested a presentation from Schrader Group and selected this group to provide the architectural services for this renovation. Schrader Group could not be here tonight, so I wanted to highlight a few things about them, and this is from their response to the RFQ. So, first of all, I have to put my glasses on, sorry. First of all, this group is out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And you cannot read this, but I can get you a copy of this. I thought you'd be able to read it a little bit more. They are from Raleigh, North Carolina, and they've been in business since 2004, so 19 years of business. They have completed 75 projects with emergency management, police, sheriff, or 911 centered focuses. These have been nationwide, and some of these have been a few projects that they worked on were in North Carolina. So I wanted to show you that, and I'm going to go through this quickly to get to page 24. So Schrader Group worked on the Chatham County Emergency Management 911 Communications Center. Before we chose them as our designer, we actually sent 2 groups to Chatham County to review, to tour and review their 911 center. They also did a 911 center in Franklin County. And there's a rendering of it. I forgot to show you the inside of there's the inside of Chatham's 911 center. And then this is Franklin County. And they also did Martin County. That's the inside of their 911 center. And they've also done Dare County as well. Dare County was a regional emergency communications center and emergency operations center, and there's just a few views of that. So based on what we knew about Schrader, this is the group that the group chose to be the architect for this redesign or renovation of the BD building. The cost for services is $417,097, and this is going to be funded through the state SCIF grant that was received in 2021. The current balance on that account is $8,277,344. $602,000 of that amount is from earned interest. So there is funding available for this, and I am going to say the request that was written by an attorney, so bear with me. The request tonight is that the board authorize the county manager to enter into a contract with Schrader Group Architecture for the architectural services associated with the design of the Alamance County Operations and Communications Center located at 780 Plantation Drive, Burlington. The cost for services to be performed under this agreement is expected to total $417,097 and will be paid from state grant funds designated for an emergency services building. So that's a lot, and I am happy to answer questions that you guys may have about this.
I'll make the motion that we approve exactly as read by you from the attorney.
Do I hear a second? I'll second the motion. I thought I heard a second, but
Can we have any discussion?
Now that we have the motion on the floor, we are
I'll
ready
wait till
for
he called on. Go ahead.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Right above the proposal, it says, as previously described, this proposal does not include all fees associated with the civil engineering and land development requirements. What's that mean?
So if they were to get into this project and find out that the land could not accommodate the addition, then there may be additional cost and we would come back. They have already done pre-planning on this. They helped us with a pre-planning project. So they've done a lot of this work already, and we're not anticipating any additional cost.
Did you say addition?
Any additional,
Okay.
there is, no, we are putting a small addition on this to house our IT equipment because that is so critical. We want to make sure that there is no way that that could ever be destroyed. So there is going to be an addition to this building. It's not a large addition. I can't remember, maybe, I don't want to say
Has this
2,000.
been in another meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We
I
have
must
talked
been-
about this, yeah.
Must have been in a coma. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wonder when I
It's
saw
a lot
that.
to take in. It really is a lot.
That's a lot of money just to figure out what to do with the other money.
Well, I think you have to keep in mind that design services are
Yeah.
not just about how we lay out the building. It's also, what are the mechanical requirements for what we want to do, the electrical, plumbing, and what we want to do to the building. 911 centers are very, very technical centers, and we need designers to design that for us because we can't do that. We do not have the expertise for it, so we really need somebody to help us along with this. And that's really what you're paying for, those pieces. I can go lay it out for you all day long, but.
Not on a napkin.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Lashley,
I have no questions.
Mr. Turner.
So were these services part of the original budget for this building?
So when we talked about a budget for this building a long time ago, we had design services pulled into this. I think we probably had design services probably budgeted around 10% because that's the norm. Yeah. So this is coming in a little bit below what that budget would have originally been.
Mr. Carter.
Well, not a question, but I don't know if you've been down to our 911 center. It's like taking our folks out of a medieval environment into the 21st century. And I was just flabbergasted at the how closely they have to work together, and that is so much more of an open and conducive work environment. I think light and security too, because it's part of what we're looking at is making this building really secure. So look forward to seeing how it turns out now.
Additionally, our folks are now downstairs in this building. They are, as Mr. Carter just alluded to, very jammed up, these people are saving lives. You call in with a 911 call, and they're the people that you will talk to. Additionally, Burlington is in the Burlington City Hall, or in that general area. So both Burlington and Alamance County will for the first time be combined in one area. And so it'll save a lot of time, likely lives in the process. Right now you have to transfer back and forth all kinds of other issues, and this will literally save lives. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
One other comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I can't call it an opportunity. This weekend took some time and read some of the transcripts from the 911 center in Hawaii during the fire. And you had people in the 911 center encouraging people who knew they were going to die, similar to what happened during 911. And I know what kind of calls. I've seen them and down there working, and I know what kind of calls they have to take, and they need the best environment they can have to do that. It's tough work, really tough work.
Might want to add, you alluded to this in your statement. Ms. Thompson, they have to have security to the point that you can't shoot through the building, you can't get all kinds of that are required now with the new facility by the state and federal government. So that's part of that cost you alluded to. Any further discussion? Anybody? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Stevens, I'm going to turn item what was 5D over to you, sir.
6D.
Or 6D, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chair, in light of my closed session motion that's going to be forthcoming, I'm going to yield my time to the manager first, if that's okay.
All right.
We'll do the manager's report quickly, then we can go into the closed session. So I need to apologize for the version of the financial report that has been uploaded. It was actually the fourth quarter of fiscal year 23. So we will, on the next agenda, have the first quarter of fiscal year 24 available for your review on that one. Sorry for that. I also wanted to let you know that staff is working on bringing some recommendations forward at your next meeting to consider some changes to the planning board and to establishing a separate board of adjustment. We've been looking at other counties and have some models that we'd like you all to consider. So we talked to the planning board about that at their last meeting and wanted to make sure that you knew as well. It will require a public hearing because we would need to also amend the UDO to make any of those changes. So a memo will be coming, letting you know what we're working on. We just wanted to give you a heads up so you weren't surprised when you saw a legal ad advertising a public hearing. That's all I have, Board. Thank you.
And in the planning board last Thursday, that was announced, as Ms. York just indicated. But additionally, we're looking at setting up an additional board. Can you mention that?
It would be a separate Board of Adjustment. Right now, the Board of Commissioners is designated to serve in the role of a Board of Adjustment, and a best practice recommendation would be to actually set up a separate board. So as we have some terms expiring on the planning board, we thought it would be a good opportunity to consider maybe moving some of those appointments over to that board.
What would that board be called?
It would be called a Board of Adjustment. It doesn't have to be comprised of the elected county commissioners. In fact, a separate board would be preferred.
Sure.
Same title, just different members.
And any appeal from that board would then go to the state, would not come to us county commissioners.
Right. Superior Court, I believe, is who those cases get appealed to.
I like that.
Will anyone be able to apply for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there was, in that planning board meeting last Thursday, support by the planning board itself. Members talked about an interest in being on the Board of Adjustment as opposed to the planning board.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and we'll be introducing you to the new planning director at the meeting as well if you haven't had a chance to meet Matthew Hoagland.
all right, anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Stevens, I think you're up now.
Yes, sir, and nothing more from me tonight other than my motion, or my recommendation for a motion for a closed session. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5, I would ask the board move into closed session in order to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the potential purchase of the real property owned by Todd Smith, described as parcel IDs 145809 and 145819, for potential use by the county for expanded office space.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any comments at all as to going into closed session? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank
We
you.
are in closed session and will re-adjourn shortly.
You missed that.
There you go. Give it to him.
With no fried chicken, we're back in the. Okay. As a result of our closed session, I think we have a motion.
Yes, based on the conversation the board has undertaken, I would ask the board move to acquire property described as parcel IDs 145809 and 145819 for additional office space for Alamance County government for no more than $1.2 million from the Capital Reserve Fund.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being
Just a
none, all in,
clarification, that's the county's capital reserve.
That's correct.
That's correct, yes.
any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, do we have a motion?
So moved.
No, I'm sorry. County Commissioners' comments. Any comments?
Who you picking?
Nobody.
Okay. I'll volunteer.
Okay.
I just want to make a statement, since we're on live stream, that I am in no way, shape, or form against this BLET training center. It's just so much money. We've just raised taxes on our citizens, and then this, and then that. And then it's just something all the time. We're looking at mold, we're looking at roofs. It's just all the time. We had some errors in our Belks and Pennies and Walmart stuff, and I have concern that we haven't made errors in our reval. And I want that, I really want some answers on that, because that has just changed the lives of so many. I do Meals on Wheels every Friday, and I see what real poverty looks like in our seniors. And I'm thinking, your property taxes were raised, and I'm bringing you food. It just doesn't sit well with me, and I know it doesn't with anybody else. But, you know, I'm a big, massive supporter of law enforcement, and I'm a supporter of ACC because my son goes there and he swears by it. Everybody does. I want nothing but success for them. But I just feel like all the money has been gone to this, and some things are being left out. And that's just a whole lot of money. And the water pressure is just a lot of things that just, I don't know. But, and that's it. There's going to be another big discussion about another thing we're doing too, probably at the next meeting. And, but you know, I'm supposed to ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Bill, John, Steve, Craig, we're all supposed to ask questions because we represent the public. And when I get phone calls about stuff like that, I'm going to bring that voice here. And sometimes I may be the only one, or maybe all of us. But I'm not going to stop asking questions, ever. And it's not directed toward anyone personal. It's just I need to get these answers, because if I'm going to vote and put my name on something, I want to be 100% sure. So I just really want, because Susan, I wouldn't dare offend you. You either share, none of y'all. I love you all dearly. But I'm going to ask those questions of the ones in here and everybody. And we just can't take things personal, the people involved with these things, if I'm asking questions. We're all adults, and we're not paying for it. Our county's paying for it, which is me, which is all of us. So that's it. I just always want us to really look at something, because we just put a lot of stuff on citizens. And then we just, you know, every time we turn around, it's like money, money, money. And I know that's government. I know that's how it goes. We have to pay for things. But it is very concerning. It's like it's a never-ending rainbow. Never. So that's it. Sorry.
Any other commissioner comments?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. Ms. York, where are we with figuring out the engineering study for ABSS and county buildings?
We don't have a contract in hand yet to bring back to the board. We've been working on that, and we hope to bring that at the next meeting for you.
Thank you.
Any further comments?
Comment, Mr. Chairman. Pam's absolutely right. Our job is to represent our citizens. This is other than city council, this is the second closest level to the community. And we represent the whole county, not just those that are not in municipal areas. So we get calls about all sorts of issues. We get calls about dogs sometimes in Burlington or Graham, or you never can tell what you're gonna get a call about. Try to point them in the right direction, find the source for an answer for their needs, whatever it might be. That's part of our job, and I think we all take that job seriously. Another part of our job is is our representation on a number of boards and committees throughout the county and the region. And I think we take that responsibility seriously. We're all appointed. We all need to be there and be able to bring back information from those different actions taken by those different boards and committees to keep our fellow commissioners informed. So it's a heavy responsibility, one we didn't take lightly when we ran for election, and I think one we need to take very seriously going forward. That's our job. That's our job. That's what we ran for, to be there for our citizens, people, our bosses, the people that live in Alamance County.
Any other comments? Mr. Lashley?
No, I have none, thank you.
And I have none. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for watching the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Commissioner meetings typically occur on the first and third Monday of each month in the Commissioners' Chambers at the County Office Building at 124 West Elm Street in Graham. The first Monday meeting begins at 9:30 a.m. and the third Monday meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. Changes to the meeting schedule will be posted on the county website at www.alamance-nc.com. The video of this meeting will be broadcast on LocalGov TV. Please go to www.localgovtvnc.com for more information about their schedule and to see more videos produced by your local governments. You can also access this meeting through our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Alamance County NC or by clicking the YouTube link on the county website. Technical questions regarding this meeting's broadcast or production may be sent to our county webmaster at webmaster@alamance-nc.com. This address is for technical questions only. Comments and questions about the content of this meeting may be made to the commissioners themselves. You can find their contact information at the Alamance County website at www.alamance-nc.com. There you can click on the link that says County Commissioners to learn more about the commissioners, read minutes and agendas of commissioner meetings, and find other information about the county commissioners. You can also send mail correspondence to County Commissioners, 124 West Elm Street, Graham, North Carolina 27253. Again, thank you for tuning in to the Alamance County Commissioners Meeting. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all our latest video content. If you're watching on LocalGov TV, be sure to visit their website to see all of the content made for you by your local governments.